this presents even less of a problem than exists, because we would have had a higher expectation for enrollment given the larger graduating class that was coming out of the high school. So I don't want us to underestimate the degree of the loss that exists. That's my reason for the question.
Okay, good question. I don't have the number offhand, but I know if I go back into our projection series a few years ago, we would have a number for what we thought we were going to get this year, and so I can get that to you. And so you're looking at both of the deltas, how many we lost plus how many we thought we would have had normally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Patrick, the projection I saw was 140,000, and that was because we did take the high school graduating class. We took the curve of the of how that our enrollment was going up, and then of course we saw that dip in enrollment. And he has presented in this material how much of that dip came as a result of first-time students.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the only conclusion that I can draw is that the first-time students were the last to register,
Right.
and therefore that's the reason we had a dip in first-time students, because there's no other explanation.
Yeah.
We were going, as long as the state provided us with the money, we were going steadily upward. And the recession was still on, so we were still getting a lot of demand for retraining. And so our best guess, and remember that a lot of people register online, so when they start punching in and they can't get any classes, then they don't show up as a student.
Right.
But that doesn't mean there was a lack of demand out there.
Unknown.
And so that's why there's no way for us to know, how many students tried to get in and couldn't get in. But, because there's not a formal admission.
But the projection, as you indicated, was a very valid methodology, and here what you look at is a difference of 50,000 from, let's say, all of '09 to 10, when the actual gap is much greater given the increase in the size of the high school graduating classes. So that was the point.
Thank you. Member Davis-Lyman.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor Perry, as I recall last year when we were given the same kind of data, that just help me if I understood this last year, that the full impact of the decline of the first-time student takes about 3 years to really feel the full impact.
Yeah, that's generally, in the past cycles we've gone through, early 90s, early 2000s, this is about a 3-year cycle where the students who are already in, they're in for 3 or 4 years. You have smaller first-time freshman groups that replace them, and then finally, the continuing students finally break and they find a way out. And it usually takes you, 3 or 4 years sometimes after to get back to where you were before after you've made all the cuts. It's not just this immediate.
And that's persistent.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Member Baum.
Thanks for that presentation. One of the things I was interested in is the lessons that we'll be able to learn from the data, because as I look at it, in some ways, we're demonstrating more efficiency. The districts are actually focusing their diminishing resources on the core mission of the system, and then there have been results in increases in student success and others that can be charted as a result. The other item that I noted is that as the profile of our students become younger, that means that we're fulfilling more of the role of the other four-year institutions that are being pushed down to us. And is there a way we can make that case politically that the state is actually trying to make its whole higher education infrastructure more efficient, and therefore a greater investment in community colleges is a worthwhile track. But so am I wrong in saying that that this looks like the system as a whole, for lack of a better term, is becoming more efficient and focused, and then there's success results that that can be demonstrated?
Yeah, I think you can make that point with the numbers. As far as efficient, I mean, if the goal was to have the system be more degree seeking and serving a younger population, then that has clearly been portrayed here. I mean, you look at the types of courses that are still here and the types of courses that have been cut. You look at the age demography and who's coming in and who's not, and the fact that they're taking more units. So, yeah, I think you can do that. As far as the success metrics, it's a little less clear. If you are getting more CSU and UC eligible students, then they're probably pushing out a more marginal student, and therefore they're likely to have higher success rates in certain courses. So that may be an artifact of that too.
So I just hope we make that case as well, that we're serving that purpose.
Okay. Chancellor Scott and then Vice President Perez.
We can make that case, and it's obvious. There's a slight chink in our armor, though, I've got to confess to, and that is, even though we've moved toward, and we have, we've cut fewer transfer sections than non-transfer and so forth, there's still some large numbers of courses out there that I don't generally go to the legislature and point to. And I mean, I looked at one that said ceramics for seniors. Another one that was in a convalescent home said senior topics. Now, I don't know what that is, whether it's arthritis or what that they're talking about, but it didn't sound like to me that was a course. If I'm a sort of somebody looking real closely and wanting to be critical, I might point those things out. I don't point those things out publicly, but a chair of the Education Committee this week in the discussing 515 had in front of him, and he said, if we're going to take on these extension courses, have you cleaned up your act first?
Oh.
And there was some hesitancy on the part of some of the college presidents. And in fact, one college trustee boldly declared, oh no, we have our Emeritus Institute, and these are all taxpayers, and we're going to continue. Well, I had wished he hadn't said that, because I'm finding it a little comforting, and I'm just talking to an in-group, that we've moved in that direction, but we haven't completed that transition.
Right.
And some colleges have moved in that direction more forcefully than others. So I'm just going to fill that in. But this, you're right, this does point toward movement, and that's encouraging. So I just thought I'd lay out.
Just don't say we're all the way there,
Yeah.
but.
We're not all
but
the
I
way
just
there.
pointed
That's
out
a good way to say it.
that all the growth is in the STEM fields, in FTEs that we've
Yeah,
seen too.
and there was a drop in physical education, which of course means that we're offering fewer activity courses, activity courses are perfectly all right in a college curriculum. They're in fact will transfer. But an activity course that someone is now taking golf for the 6th semester because he doesn't particularly want to go out and pay the country club fee is not exactly what we're about. So I'm just trying to tell you both the plus and the minus of this.
Vice President.
Patrick, thank you so much for providing this information. Question I had is on Table 8, where we had the basic skills section decreased by 4.6%, but I don't see the course offering depicted in Table 10B. Is that because it's less than 1,000 FTE, or is it embedded within there somewhere?
It's embedded. So, math and English can be basic skills math or can be collegiate level math. If you look at the cross between the two, what it's really saying is there's less basic skills math going on and probably more collegiate math, even though your FTES is going up in those curricular areas. Barry, you want to try and address this too?
But I don't see math
not
and
on
English
this
on
list.
here. Maybe I'm not seeing it.
Okay, which table are you looking at?
Table 10B on page 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to speak to the reduction in basic skills courses, because that's something that we saw, and we did an informal survey from all the colleges, sent out a listserv email, and got back some really good information. And basically is that the colleges have heard through the Basic Skills Initiative that they need to restructure their basic skills courses. So many of them are going from 6 levels down to 4 levels or 2 levels. They're reducing the number of basic skills courses that students have to take. So they've heard that message about accelerating them through the basic skills and getting them into transfer courses. So I think that actually is a good point,
Yeah.
that we're reducing the numbers in some ways. We just need to be careful that we're not reducing the access for students, but we're increasing the numbers. Now, our data is also showing that more students are going to that next level transfer course. So those two data points together, I think, are good signs for the system.
So at some future date, I know you guys have a lot on your plate, but at some future date, could we get some of that information, a better understanding of where they're reducing the number of course offerings versus the actual reduction? Because I think that's really helpful for us to have a better understanding. And then the other question was on the distant ed sections, you showed a tremendous increase in there. At some future date, can you just give us a recap of where we're seeing the increase in those courses occurring? I'd just be curious to see where we're actually increasing course offering.
Sure, we can do that.
Thanks.